Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In previous videos, many of you may have wondered about the real lives behind the footage we watch every day. The stories we see on screen are often carefully crafted, emotional, and well-produced, making viewers think they are simply the result of scripts and staging. But behind those images, how much is real? How much comes from the actual lives of the people who created them? And today, I want us to take a deeper look into that special story, a story that doesn't stop at what we see on screen, but is also a very real journey of the people behind it, people who have gradually changed their own lives step by step. Few people know that James, the familiar character we often see in the videos, has a very simple real name in everyday life, quynh. A name that isn't flashy or tied to fame and spotlight, but one that carries a long journey of effort and perseverance. As for a name many viewers are used to, it actually comes from a mispronunciation. His real name is Hung, and his full name is Hong. These details may seem small, but they are the bridge that helps us understand who they truly are, and what has shaped them into the people they are today. Not only are they co-stars on screen, but in real life, quynh and Hung are also biological brothers. They grew up together, closely bonded since childhood, in a farming family in the northern mountainous region. It was a place without many advantages or opportunities like in the city, only mountains, land, and seasons that passed year after year. Their childhood was spent following their parents to the fields, getting used to the harsh midday sun and the biting cold of early mountain mornings. Life back then was not abundant. There were even times when it was extremely difficult. There were days of hard work that brought little return, moments when every small expense had to be carefully calculated just to sustain the family. But within that environment, each passing day quietly taught them lessons that no school could offer: perseverance, resilience, the courage to face hardship, the ability to value even the smallest opportunities, and above all, a deep desire to change their lives, to step beyond the limits they were born into. Quynh, the older brother, was the one who had the chance to step out into the world earlier. New experiences and different environments gradually gave him a broader perspective on life. From there, a passion began to grow within him, a passion for creating content, for telling stories that he believed could touch people's hearts. It was not an easy choice, nor was it a smooth path. When he started, he had almost nothing: no experience, no resources, not even a stable audience. The first videos were created in simplicity, under very limited conditions. There were times he had to film the same scene over and over just to get a satisfying shot, times when he had to do everything himself, from ideas to filming to editing. And when the videos were finally uploaded, they received very little attention. Few views, little feedback, and even moments that made him question whether the path he had chosen was truly the right one. But instead of stopping, instead of giving up halfway, quynh kept going. He chose to believe in what he was doing, believing that if he stayed persistent long enough, if he worked hard enough, one day his efforts would be recognized. Day by day, video by video, he continued quietly, improving, learning, and growing from his own mistakes. There was no rapid progress, no instant success, but little by little, things began to change. And it was from those slow yet steady steps that their journey gradually started to take on clearer transformations. Meanwhile, Hung remained in his hometown, continuing to stay connected to the familiar rhythm of life, a simple life, yet filled with everyday worries. His days still began very early, when the sun had not fully risen, and ended as the evening light slowly faded behind the distant mountain ranges. Everything seemed unchanged, still the same routine work, the same old roads, the same space that had been part of his life for so many years. But within that quiet steadiness, his life gradually began to open up in a new direction in a very natural way. And then, during those seemingly repetitive days, he met Ca, the person later known to audiences as lytutien in the videos. But in real life, She is simply Zhang Tca, a mountain girl with sincerity, simplicity, and warmth. There were no grand gestures, no overly romantic promises, yet their feelings grew little by little, slowly but steadily over time. It was a kind of love built on understanding, on sharing the smallest moments of daily life, on simple yet meaningful experiences that quietly connected two people together. As time passed, that bond became deeper. They were not only companions in life, but also each other's support during difficult times. And eventually, a natural ending came. They decided to get married and build a small family of their own. A family that may not have been rich in material things, but was full of warmth and love. 2 children were born one after the other, bringing joy and new hopes. The children that audiences later see in the videos are not actors or staged additions. They are their real children, true members of that very family. Life continued to flow, simple and peaceful in its own way. Each day brought familiar tasks, small joys, and very real concerns. It seemed as though everything would continue like that, without much change, until Quynh, after spending time exploring and pursuing his own path, began to think about a different direction. A direction not just for himself, but one that could open opportunities for the whole family. He started building a YouTube channel. What made it special was not the platform itself, but the way he chose his content. Instead of chasing distant or unrealistic ideas, he decided to use the people closest to him and their real-life experiences as material. Stories that did not need to be overly dramatic or heavily staged, but simply reflected what they lived every day. And within those stories, Hung and Ca were no longer just family members. They gradually became the main characters, the heart and soul of each video. At first, everything remained very normal. The early videos were uploaded without gaining much attention or strong engagement. But little by little, through persistence and by staying true to their authenticity, those stories began to touch viewers in a very natural way. Without exaggeration or unrealistic scenarios, it was precisely their simplicity and relatability that made audiences feel connected. Gradually, each video reached more people. Images of mountain life, of family, of sincere and emotionally rich individuals left a unique impression on viewers. This was not overnight fame, but something built over time, through carefully created content and stories told with genuine emotion. And from there, their lives began to change more clearly. The once old and worn house was gradually renovated, no longer showing the signs of deterioration it once had. Financial struggles, once a constant concern, began to ease. They became more proactive in their lives, able to take better care of their children, their family, and those around them. Things that were once just wishes slowly became reality in a way that felt deeply meaningful. But the most meaningful change was not just material, it was the journey they had gone through together. Everything they achieved did not come from random luck, but from persistent effort, continuous creativity, and most importantly, the unity of the entire family. Each person played a role, each contributed in their own way, but all moved toward the same shared goal. And perhaps what surprised many viewers the most was the appearance of the father in the videos. Many thought he was simply an actor invited to complete the story. But in reality, he is their real father. There was no artificial setup, no distance between acting and real life. Everything came from the same family, appearing together, telling stories that both recreate and reflect their own lives. A real family, with real people, and real emotions. And that is what makes the difference, where each story is not just something to watch, but something to feel, something that allows viewers to see a familiar piece of life within it. Perhaps, after everything that has been shared, what truly makes those videos different does not lie in complex plots or carefully staged scripts. At a deeper level, it is authenticity, a kind of emotion that is almost impossible to create if it does not come from real life itself. There are no layers of artificial glamour, no excessive embellishment, everything appears naturally and closely, just like the way they live their lives every single day. It is the way they bring their own lives into each frame, without hiding, without trying to become someone else. Moments that seem ordinary, a family meal, a day working in the fields, a glance, a smile, yet when captured, they carry a very distinct emotion. These feelings do not need to be acted out, because they already exist within them, within every experience they have lived through. Viewers do not just see a story, they feel the rhythm of life, they sense the connection, they recognize the authenticity that, in modern life, we sometimes overlook. And perhaps it is this very authenticity that creates an invisible bond between them and the audience, a connection without the need for explanation, a sense of familiarity even without ever meeting. Looking back at the journey of Quynh, Hung, and Ca, it is not something that happens suddenly or like a miracle. There was no turning point that came overnight, no success that appeared without effort. Everything is the result of a long process, built from simple days that were also full of challenges. It is about starting again and again, about facing silence and doubt, yet still choosing to continue. It is a journey of constant effort, of striving each day to become better than the version of themselves from yesterday. Moments that may seem small, but when combined, become a solid foundation that allows them to move forward. And above all, it is about belief, a simple yet powerful belief that as long as they keep trying, things will eventually change in one way or another. The path may not be fast or easy, but that is exactly why every step forward becomes more meaningful. Every change, no matter how small, carries its own value, because it is the result of a long journey behind it. And when looking back, what remains is not only what they have achieved, but how they have gone through everything together. And perhaps the most meaningful thing this story brings is not the change in material life, but a simple message that anyone can feel. That no matter where we start, no matter how difficult our circumstances may be, if we dare to think differently, dare to begin with the smallest steps, and persist until the end, life will eventually open new paths for us. Those paths may not look exactly like what we once imagined, but they will surely be opportunities that bring us closer to what we desire. And sometimes, the journey itself, with all the effort, experiences, and emotions along the way, is the most valuable part of all. If you have watched until this point, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's story. Your presence and your attention are what give stories like this meaning and the motivation to continue being told. If you felt something from this story, even just a small thought, a bit of empathy, or a passing emotion, don't hesitate to leave a like or a comment to share your thoughts. And if you would like to continue this journey with me in future stories, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss upcoming videos. See you again in the next video.